Feeling at home with the loving energy. The Loving Energy newsletter, sneak issue number 9. 1. Hello Paniyiri. 2. The Divine reveals oneness. 3. Poo P Fart. 4. Second Pyramid Transmission Edition Village Clients. 5. I Belong. One. Hello Paniyiri. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Loving Energy newsletter, sneak issue number 9, which is all about Paniyiri. What is Paniyiri, I hear you say? This Greek word Paniyiri refers to a yearly gathering that happens in villages throughout Greece. Each village has a main church, and the Paniyiri is held on the feast day of the patron saint of this church. Paniyiri is a big deal. Many villages have migrated to towns or cities, and they will return to their village for this special event to celebrate and to see their families, neighbors, and friends. If you are visiting Greece and chance upon a Paniyiri feast, which is all about eating, drinking, and dancing, you might never know that the event is related to a religious celebration. I didn't. The first time I went to a Paniyiri was when Fotoman and I were living on Mykonos, the famous island that is known as the Party Island. But real people live there too, and one evening when we were at an art exhibition opening that we crashed, an American Greek man told us of this Paniyiri happening in a village the next evening. And yes, this is usually what happens if you don't have your own village. You hear from someone and you go. Everyone is welcome, just like what the hospitality law which Zeus laid down dictates. A Paniyiri usually lasts for 1 or 2 days, but in Anoasites, our village, it lasts a whole week. This year, we stayed in the village for the whole Paniyiri. There were 4 evening feasts with live music and a lot of dancing. There was a game day for children. There was 2 theater nights and even a shadow puppet show. There were several church services throughout the week, and the church bells were ringing a lot more than usual. We have been living in Greece for 9 years now, and only this summer I found out about the religious aspect of Paniyiri. But the feast day of St. John the Baptist is on the 7th of January. I said to my village friend, "See what I did there? I showed off how I remembered St. John's feast day. St. John is known for baptizing Jesus. The day of Jesus' baptism happened on the 6th of January, which is celebrated as the day of Epiphany. The next day, St. John is celebrated for his role. So how come Anoasites village, whose patron saint is St. John the Baptist, has Paniyiri in August? We celebrate the day he was beheaded," our village friend explained. I looked up the feast day for St. John. He is also celebrated on the days when he was conceived, when he was born, and when his head was found the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd time. The Anoasites people chose the day of the beheading probably because it's at the end of August, where people would come as the last part of the summer holidays. And people did come. At the last feast evening, there were over 2,000 people. May you have a lot to celebrate for, and many people to celebrate with, always. Love, Stephanie said, the Loving Energy. Two. The Divine reveals oneness. The Divine Reveal TDR is a quantum health process that typically runs for 5 to 8 weeks, approximately 12 to 14 hours appointment time. Ruth Ahern was inspired by Anita Mujani's near-death experience, NDE, as detailed in her book Dying to Be Me, to create this unique modality for bringing phenomenal transformation to committed individuals. All sessions are conducted online via Zoom. The first 2 steps of the TDR process, the TDR introductory session and Dying to Be Me book discussion, are always free of charge, so that you will have necessary information to decide if and when you want to engage in the whole process. To read more about TDR or to schedule a TDR introductory session, please use the links in the description. During her NDE, Anita Mujani found that she wasn't separated from anything or anyone. She felt she was one with the universe and all that it contained, and that everything was perfect as it was. At every Paniyiri feast, there is live traditional music, and many people would get up and dance together. The Greek line dance is done in a circle. When there are too many people for the circle, they start spiraling into 2 or even more circles. This year, my foreigner friends and I joined in with the dance. Every region in Greece has their own traditional dances. The Cretan traditional dances have complicated steps. My friends and I were clueless, but we had fun anyway. We felt so good after the first dance that when the new song began, we joined in with the locals once again, without knowing what we were in for. The music turned out to be horse racing fast, and people's feet moved frantically. My friends and I ignored all steps and focused on not falling or slowing down the circles while laughing our heads off. The line dancing reminds me of oneness, which definitely does not mean that there is no more messiness or individuality, both of which Greek people embrace, but that there is guaranteed love, joy, and amazing fun. 3. Poo, pee, fart. The thought of the moon cycle is 洗了屁, poo, pee, fart. Photoman, my father-in-law and I went to the shadow puppet show at the village square. We went because I wanted to see what Greek shadow puppet show was like. I enjoyed seeing some friendly faces, the barbecued food, and the ice creams, but I didn't like the puppet show. I understand only very little of the dialogues. I did understand that they were trying to be funny. There was a lot of yelling, which Photoman explained is what all Greek comedies are like. I don't know why they think to be funny, you have to be yelling. What I disliked even more was that the main character kept hitting the other puppet when he thought the others were idiots. First, he hit his children. Later, when he was talking to a woman, he hit her too. The hitting wasn't to portray domestic violence. It was meant to be funny. The puppet show was meant to be for children. Would they grow up thinking yelling, calling everyone an idiot, and hitting people are funny and do the same? We call this 洗了屁, poo pee fart, I told Photoman. In Hong Kong, we call this kind of basic vulgar humor 洗了屁, poo pee fart. 洗了屁, poo pee fart doesn't need to be about poo, pee, or fart. It can be about any subject that is vulgar or wrong. For example, racism and sexism. The jokes are not done in an intellectual way, but in ways that are disgusting or belittling. Several years ago, when I was in Australia to see some friends of Photoman, his friend said some sexist jokes to me, and I felt I was violated. His wife and other women there stared at me as if I was acting crazy when I shouted at him to stop. I didn't understand how these women could accept that it was humor and harmless. Later, the friend asked me if I was offended and why. He apologized despite still feeling puzzled at my distress. I was puzzled too, at his ignorance. Photoman showed me comedy videos by Australian comedian Barry Humphries. When we were watching his sketches on the character Sir Les Patterson that were full of crude, boorish, racist and sexist jokes, I finally understood. This is how Photoman and his friends grew up, watching jokes like that, thinking that those were funny and harmless. Even though Humphries claimed that his intention was to educate, it seemed that he inspired people to be offensive. I was glad to see that Futoman has grown out of it and found the jokes wrong also. But I wonder how many people were affected by the Si Liu Pei, Pu Pi Fart comedy they grew up with and are still being crude and every kind of wrong to people around them. During this moon cycle, think about how the culture you grew up in have affected you, and if something that seems to be harmless is in fact toxic. Four, second pyramid transmission. Addition, village clients. During the various Panuyiri events at the village, I bumped into some of my clients from the village. I'm glad that I wasn't in a village environment when I first started learning Sekhem, because I would have bumped into my clients a lot and I probably would have been exhausted and worried sick about them and their issues. Facilitating a Sekhem treatment is actually really easy. Once we were initiated to Sekhem, the energy runs freely through our body to whoever wants to receive it. During a treatment, we place our hands on or above the client's body, and Sekhem fills the client's body like water flowing into intended surfaces, and the facilitators do not need to think about what to do or where to place the energy. There are of course different techniques for various purposes, and these too are easy. We just need to learn them and practice them and apply them when we feel the need. The difficult part is the spiritual practice, which really is the foundation for being a healing facilitator. One of the concepts that was hard for me was detachment. How do I detach from my client after the treatment and not worry about them and their issues? When I first started having Sekhem clients, they would come to my mind often and I would think about them and their issues, hoping that all was well with them and that they got what they were seeking, and maybe I didn't do enough for them and so on. I was exhausted. I thought it was an issue of boundary, which I was rubbish at too. I tried so hard to draw a line, but that didn't help me at all. Finally, I realized it was about trust. Trusting that everyone is looked after by their spirit guides and angels and everyone. There is no room for me to worry at all. I let them go to the hands of the divine. When I went to the shop to buy ice cream during the puppet show, I bumped into a friendly face. We chatted a little, and only when she said she wanted to make an appointment after the summer season, I remembered that she was my client. Ooh, detachment, I got you. Sekhem pyramid transmission started when an idea came to me to share Sekhem in a simple way. It is not how I normally facilitate a Sekhem treatment. What I do with Sekhem pyramid transmission is that I channel a certain amount of Sekhem energy for you. I also create a pyramid for you as sacred place, to be placed around you when you are receiving the transmission. My divine spirit team fills the pyramid with elements and colors according to the moon cycle's collective energy need. You can receive this transmission at your convenience during this moon cycle. Here's what you need to do in order to receive this transmission. 1. Get comfortable by either sitting with your back supported or lying down on your back for relaxation and circulation. 2. Give intention to the effect of, I would like to receive the snake issue number 9, Sekhem pyramid transmission now, to my highest good and will. 3. Relax for about half an hour. That's it. This time, my divine spirit team filled the pyramid with vibration of diamond, prism, and duckling. Look up the properties of these items if you feel drawn to. You may or may not feel anything. It's fine. Having sensation is not a requirement. The only requirement is that you are willing to receive. Please remember to say, to my highest good and will, so you know you are in control. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. I certainly would love to hear about your experience. If you want to share the gift of Sekhem pyramid transmission with your friends, please send them the link to subscribe for the Loving Energy newsletter. The link can be found in the description. 5. I belong. The "You are amazing" affirmation for this moon cycle is, I belong. A village friend told me we had to go to the final feast because there will be over 2,000 people and it will be amazing. Another village friend told me the final one wasn't good and the other ones were better. I didn't understand their different view and thought I would see for myself. We didn't book a table because the friend we went with said we could find one, and we did. As we walked through the many tables and crowd, I felt uneasy because many people stared at me. They continued to stare every time I walked to and back from the dance floor. It is normal to want to look when you see someone who looks different. Usually, people would do it discreetly, but not the Greeks. Greek people stare openly. It's not as bad now when there are more Chinese people living in Greece. 20 plus years ago, back when Photoman and I first started seeing each other, he was living in Athens where people stared at me everywhere like I had two heads. The first time I went to a village for lunch, silence descended as we walked into a busy tavern looking for a table. Everyone stopped talking or eating and stared at me. They resumed their activities when we finally sat down and I was not so visible. From the way the Greek people at the final feast stared at me, I know they were not from our village, not even the neighboring villages. They might thought me strange, but I felt like telling them that they were the strangers while I was a local. You see, no one stared at me in our village. They don't stare at me either when I go to the nearby villages for coffees or meals. They know me. They know where my house is and my family. When they see me, they greet me and they ask me how I am. I know too why one of my friends said she didn't like the final feast. I guess that wasn't a real panegyri feast that is for friends and family together. It was more like a giant party where you have fun eating, drinking, dancing, which was great too. It was especially great because it helped me realize how the people in my village accepted me and that I feel I belong. During this moon cycle, say, I belong, daily and often, and see how more at home you will feel wherever you are. During my search for grounding, I connected with my ancestors who helped me feel I belong. In the video, What is Love? Day 5, Root, I guided everyone to connect with their ancestors. I put a link to this video in the description and the end screen of this video. Enjoy! We have reached the end of the snake issue number 9. The next issue will arrive at your mailbox on the 21st of October, Tuesday, which is the first day of the 9th month in the Chinese calendar. Yes, the next new moon day.